When Kauchi was around 18 or 19, he brought me to the shop. It's where we do the polishing and finishing, you know. Yes. This is a pendant that I made for Bimkun. Hi everyone, please come in. I'm Tetsuya Akiyama, the owner of GRILLZ Jewels. We specialize in custom-made grills and all kinds of jewelry, as well as retail sales. This side is more of a customer space, while the back is where we do our production, that's right. Here we also do consultations while looking at samples. Yes, that's how we go about it. It's a bit messy around here though. This is where we store rubber molds, like the molds we take from the original prototypes, you know, that kind of thing. Every year we give out free calendars to those who want them at the start of the year. The first one was for Twiggy and then Demi, and we've been making them every year since about 2012. We ask the artists who wear the jewelry and grills we make to be the models for the calendar. I'm 46, turning 47 soon. So generation-wise, I'm a bit of a senior compared to some, you know. That said, I don't just work with people from my own generation. These days, I also have the chance to collaborate with younger artists, which has been great. I've been a fan of Supreme for a long time. While many people wear it, what I really like is how they create pieces that resonate with the core fans as well. This here is a collaboration piece with Tiffany. I've always admired Tiffany as a brand. Back when I used to work as a jewelry craftsman, I was particularly drawn to the flawless finishing on their products. Even then, I looked up to Tiffany as a brand. So this collaboration holds a lot of meaning for me. That's why I wanted to display this piece. It's something I treasure, and I've set it up here for that reason. Basically, this side here functions as a space for making grills. It's like a workshop. The main process starts here, where we create the original prototype or base shape. Then over there is where we handle the metal, processing it after it's been cast. That area is where we work on tasks like processing and polishing the grills to finish them. This here is a dust collector, since dust and polishing compounds tend to fly around during the process. In the mornings, since Okachimachi is a wholesale district, I spend time going around to buy materials like stones and gems. At 12, we open the shop, and if I have some free time during the day, I work on production tasks. The shop stays open until 7 in the evening. After closing, I usually continue with more work, focusing on the production process. When I first started, there wasn't much awareness about this kind of jewelry. It was mostly associated with people in the hip-hop scene. Initially, I thought it would be great to open a shop in Shibuya or around Udagawa-cho, since that area was a hub for hip-hop stores and culture, but honestly, the rent in those areas was really high, and it was just impossible for me to set up a shop there. For production, though, this town, Okachimachi, is by far the most convenient and suitable. That's why I eventually decided to open my shop here in Okachimachi. These are all actually scrap materials. When I was opening the shop, I borrowed as much as I possibly could from the bank, but it still wasn't enough. So the chairs and equipment you see here were sourced from places that had closed down, shops or workshops that had stopped operating. I basically collected what I could from them to make it work. I haven't really had the time or opportunity to change anything. These tools here are used for carving wax when making prototypes. They've been the same since I first started and haven't changed at all. I've been using them for about 16 or 17 years now, and they're still my go-to tools. They're the easiest to use, probably because I'm so familiar with them. I find them much more comfortable to work with than newer tools. This is a burner used for soldering, kind of like welding. It produces a very hot flame. And this one here is for processing wax. It gives off a gentler flame for more delicate work. We use this flame to melt the wax and create the prototype. The process involves shaping the original form out of wax, which is then cast into metal. After that, we move on to this area for rough polishing, where we adjust and refine the shape slightly. That's the kind of work we do here. For a refresh, I like doing bench presses. It's a type of weight training, and since I spend a lot of time doing intricate work, I sometimes feel the urge to do something more physical. I bought this bench press back when I was around 20, 21 or 22, and I've been using it ever since. Whenever I have some free time, I like to fit in a quick workout. Also, I'm a big fan of sneakers, and my collection just keeps growing over time. Some of the sneakers I have were given to me as gifts. I've always been a fan of Nike sneakers, but recently I feel like New Balance has been growing in popularity as well. I tend to prefer fitted caps over snapback styles. This particular one is from a series I modeled for with the cap the other day. This one here is a buzz-in cord cap. It has a kind of distressed, damaged look, which I really like. I find myself wearing it a lot. When I first started, I was probably around 25 or 26 years old. I didn't have any money back then, so I couldn't afford to buy things like sneakers. Now though, I've finally reached a point where I can make a decent living. I think I might be buying a lot of things now as a kind of reaction to not being able to afford them in the past. I used to make most of the jewelry prototypes by hand, but now, for a lot of them, I've started using CAD software to create the prototypes instead. With this software, you can precisely design things like the placement of diamonds, allowing for a high level of accuracy. This pendant, for example, is something I made for BIM from Creative Drugstore. Using the software, the placement of the stones can be done with precision, almost mechanically. It's very suitable for creating items like this, especially when it comes to making accurate prototypes. This is a finger USB from Dukun. It was a gift, but I use it regularly, yes. Over here you can see grill samples. Most customers choose their preferred shape from these samples when placing an order. The most common order is the plain gold grill. It's the classic style and by far the most popular option. Of course, grills with stones are also really cool, but I personally like the ones with just the frame outline. They're simple yet stylish. We can also customize grills with unique stones, including colored ones, to make something a bit more distinctive. These here are from the Supreme and Jacob and Company collaboration. For our generation, Jacob and Company was a hugely popular high-end brand for watches and jewelry. Originally, the piece only had diamonds in this section, but I customized it by adding diamonds to the sides and here as well. Even teenagers come here, and since grill prices vary widely, there are some more affordable options that younger customers tend to order. The price depends on factors like the number of teeth, the material, and the shape, So we work with the customer to decide on the details of their order. Once the order is placed, we first need to take a dental impression from the customer. The grills are custom made based on that, and the process typically takes about a month and a half to 2 months. That's the general workflow. I actually have newer photos that I wanted to include, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. One of the pieces was like a gold bar, 14 karat gold, I think. The first artist I ever made a piece for was You the Rock. Before I opened the shop, I was running an internet-based business from my home, which also served as my workshop. For about 2 years, I'm not exactly sure how he found out about me, but about a week or 10 days after I opened the shop, he suddenly came by as my very first customer. It was completely unannounced, no prior contact or anything like that. Of course, I already knew who he was, and I remember feeling so thrilled and excited about it. The shop itself is probably around 15 or 16 years old, but I think you had been wearing grills even before that. He likely went to places like Brooklyn, New York to have his grills made. Then at some point, I think he heard from somewhere that he could get them made in Japan, which is how he ended up coming here. After that, people around You the Rock, like Twiggy from Kaminari or D.O., also came by to have their grills made. Artists from that generation started coming in, and gradually the trend began to spread to younger generations as well. I think it's been a kind of word-of-mouth phenomenon where artists hear about us and decide to come by. That's something that's been continuing steadily for quite a while now. This is a poster from 2007, so it's from right around the time we first opened. It all started through connections, like being introduced by a friend. And of course, I've also made some grills for them along the way. On a personal level, I've always liked rap music, so that's another reason we've been able to get along so well. The Miami Cuban chain is a type of chain that was quite rare in Japan, and it's pretty much the main style I have in stock. It's a classic chain in the US, similar to how the Kihei chain is regarded in Japan. However, since Miami Cuban chains aren't mass-produced in Japan, they appeal to customers who want something a bit different from the typical Kihei chain. These thinner chains are machine woven, and I import them directly from New York. For thicker chains, they need to be handmade. We've created molds in-house to make these thicker chains ourselves. Before I started working in jewelry, I was just a regular office worker, but I was really drawn to the Kihei chain. I admired it so much that I wanted to make chains and jewelry for a living. So I quit my office job and joined a jewelry workshop. This is a Miami chain, but in a way, the Kihei chain is what inspired me to start my career in jewelry. It was the piece that motivated me to take that first step into the business. Looking back now, I don't think I'd be able to do something like that again. As you get older, it becomes harder to make such bold decisions. I think being in my 20s was what allowed me to quit my job and start pursuing something I truly loved. Honestly, I've always felt like a bit of a misfit. I could never fully adjust or fit into that kind of corporate environment. I don't know if it was just that particular company, but I always felt like I didn't belong. I guess I also wanted to quit for personal reasons, to pursue something I loved, so I found a way to justify leaving. When I was working as a salaryman, I had saved up about 2 million yen, but just renting this place and paying the deposit used up almost all of it. Making this a custom order shop turned out to be a good decision for me. Since I didn't need to keep any inventory and could just make pieces as orders came in, it was a setup that suited my situation well. CL from the group 2NE1 came by to have some grills made, along with a few other Korean artists. We ended up making several pieces for them, including for different artists. Ryu-kun, who was managing them at the time, brought Ko here when he was 18 or 19. He just brought him over to the shop saying, this guy is going to be big. When I talked to Ko, I found him to be a unique and fun kid. After that, he started coming to the shop pretty regularly. As he began earning more money, he commissioned a lot of grills and jewelry from me. I've been able to watch him grow as an artist, just as I think he's seen my shop evolve as well. He's not like a typical customer. It feels more like a friendship. As for Anarchy, I've made quite a lot of pieces for him over the years. He tends to lose them, so I often have to make replacements or new designs for him. That's happened quite a bit, but we've had a long-standing relationship and I really enjoy working with him. Okamoto Reiji is another customer who stands out. His sense of fashion is so unique that the grills he creates are always quite interesting and creative. These days, grills aren't just a hardcore b-boy accessory anymore. You'll even see people wearing suits and just adding grills as a statement piece. It's fascinating to see how they've evolved. I used to have a lot of the source magazines, but some of them went missing because someone borrowed them and never returned them. I first learned about grills shops from an ad on the back of one of those magazines. That's how I initially discovered this world. Now I keep the source magazines from that time here, along with magazines featuring artists wearing grills I've made. I've also got some jewelry catalogs on display. Stickers, yeah. When people ask if they can leave some here, I say, well, sure, go ahead. And they just keep piling up. Now they're free for anyone to take as they like. This here is a gift I received directly from Ellie of LDH. If you look around the shop, you can probably tell I'm not very good at interior design. I tend to let things accumulate and pile up. I think the first piece I ever made for an artist was for Slack. If I remember correctly, it was a tiger pendant, and it was probably the first large pendant I ever crafted for anyone. He has a preference for big, bold pendants, which made the project really stand out. Ever since then, we've stayed connected, and he's become one of the artists I've built a strong and lasting relationship with over the years. This rug here, it's something I received as a gift. I made grills for him when he wore this particular outfit. And maybe he remembered that look or something. The person who makes these mats gave this to me as a gift, which was really nice. As for these chairs, they're just something I personally like. I bought them myself and decided to place them here. Posters have become almost a thing of the past now, and the same goes for flyers. We don't hand them out anymore, but back in the day, paper advertisements were really common. People would bring their posters to the shop, and we'd put them up for them. Over time, the posters do start to wear out, so it's natural to replace them. But for some reason, I just can't bring myself to take them down. I end up leaving them up instead. This necklace is in the shape of what's called a Miami Cuban chain. I had it custom made, partly as a personal piece and partly for the shop. It's an original chain design. When customers see what's possible, they often think, wow, I want to have something like that made, yeah. So in a way, I made it as a display piece, something to show off what can be done. But honestly, I also made it because I personally really like this type of chain. As for grills, you can choose the material you'd like for them. The highest purity option is 22 karat gold. A plain grill made in 22 karat gold is likely the most timeless and classic option for those who want a sleek, understated look. What I value the most is whether the customer feels truly satisfied with their experience. Personally, I'm more than willing to redo anything necessary until they are completely happy with the outcome. I prioritize creating an experience where they can genuinely feel I'm glad I made this purchase, and I think that's the most important part. My immediate goal is, since I really enjoy this place and feel a strong connection to it, to perhaps rent the second floor above us, for instance, and bring in a few more skilled artisans. Right now, everything we make is custom ordered, which means it can take a considerable amount of time. My aim is to shorten that production time as much as possible. I want to establish a system that allows us to deliver our products to customers as quickly as we can. That's not just my immediate goal, but also something of a dream for me. Yeah. As for my personal life, well, I've never experienced being extremely wealthy, so I can't say much about it. I'm certainly not a millionaire. I tend to think that having an excessive amount of money might not be all that enjoyable for someone like me. I'd rather keep just a bit less money and stay in a mindset where I'm motivated to earn what I need. I'd like to keep living this way if possible. I also have a few things I'd really love to create. Things I've been imagining for a while. There are about 4 specific ideas I'd like to try making, but with the demands of daily work, it's tough to carve out the time for them. If I can divide up the work or delegate more effectively, I think I could make time to work on the things I really want to create. That would probably make me feel truly happy. Of course, since I haven't actually tried making those ideas yet, I can't say for sure. But the fact that I can visualize them makes me believe they're within reach. I think I'd like to try making those grills at some point. Yeah.